Girl Scouts, Betsy Nichols here with the Girl Scouts of Minnesota and Wisconsin Lakes and Pines, returning to you from Duluth, Minnesota. Today we are going to be featuring the Past and Promise World of Me badge. This is a council patch program, so if you go through the requirements for this badge, you can order it through the Girl Scouts of Minnesota and Wisconsin Lakes and Pines. I'm gonna give y'all a minute to get on the live feed. See, some people are watching, so that's very excited. Let's see. What did you guys do this weekend? I spent some time, I went on a walk, I did some laundry, I went grocery shopping. Let's see, I kept it pretty low-key. I finished an embroidery project, which is really fun. So let's see, what time is it? Why don't we go ahead and get started? So, the Past and Promise World of Me badge has three main parts to it. And you can find the requirements on our virtual programming page. But basically there are three sections to it. There is your past, Girl Scout past, and your community past. So I started out with my past, and so one of the options was to find out about your ancestors and where your family comes from. So I talked to my parents and I got some fun information about my family tree that I just wanted to go over real quick. So starting on my mom's side of the family, I kind of already knew that we had Irish and German ancestors on my mom's side of the family. She was able to kind of tell me more about that. So if we're looking at the my maternal grandfather, so that would be my mom's dad, his mom was Irish and his dad was German. So there's both Irish and German. And then if we look at my maternal grandmother, so that would be my mom's mother. Her mom was kind of from the Austria, Germany region, and her dad was Irish. Very Irish last names. We have Hogan, we have Schaefer, and then the Austrian German last name was Lump. And something that I thought was really cool was, so my grandmother on my mom's side of the family, my maternal grandmother, her name was Ida. And then I learned that Ida's mom was also named Ida, and so I thought that was really interesting. You know, we hear about guys being named after their parents, you know, passing down the guy's name to their son, so you have Junior or the second or the third, but I really loved that Ida named her first daughter after herself, so I love that. And then moving on to my dad's side of the family, so my paternal grandmother, so my dad's mom, she had a great Irish maiden name. Her last name was Dooley before she got married, which was really fun. And it sounds like her parents shared, or her parents were both of European descent. We have her dad being Irish, and then potentially her mom having some Swedish, or no, not Swedish, Switzerland ancestry, which was very cool and very new to me. And then looking at my paternal grandfather, so my dad's dad. My dad is named after his dad, so both of them are named Ralph. Something that I didn't know before was, whereas my mom's side of the family, it seemed like they kind of came over in the 1800s when A lot of immigration was happening. It looks like my dad's side of the family, or my grandpa's side of the family, came to America a lot earlier. So we're talking like English colonialism and settlers, which was really cool to me. So we had some people come over, from England. We had, and then I think it looks like very many generations back. There was some Native American ancestry in there. So that was a really fun exercise. Hopefully you are able to talk to your parents or maybe your grandparents to talk about your ancestry. It was really fun for me to do. And that's also a great reason to talk to your grandparents, if you haven't been able to see them in a while. I certainly haven't seen mine in a long time. So that was one element of the family history. Another element of the family history that I did was I made a map of the important places to my family. So if you have met me, you probably know this because I talk about it a lot. If you haven't met me, hi, I'm Betsy, and I am not originally from Minnesota. I did not grow up in Duluth, where I live now. I grew up outside of Indianapolis, Indiana, in Brownsburg, Indiana, and that's where my parents still live, so that was the first place that I put on the map. I have one older sister, and she lives in Milton, Washington, so I put that on the map. And then I put Duluth on my map because that's where I currently live. And then I wanted to put a couple places that were significant to my grandparents. And from the time that I was going into first grade all the way until I graduated high school, every summer my mom's side of the family, we would have a family reunion at this lake called Lake Wasatch in Poland, Indiana. So I put that on my map. And then I also put where my grandparents, my dad's parents, currently live in Plainfield, Indiana. So I put that on my map. Those are some important places to my family. Moving on, there was the community aspect. So finding out more about your community. So I looked at 2 options for this one. There's about 6 options for 6 different activities that you can do for your personal history, about 6 or 7 activities that you can do for your community history, and then about 6 or 7 activities that you can do for your Girl Scout history. And all of them are outlined on the badge requirements. Again, you can find those on our virtual programming page. And for the brownies, you need to do 6 activities in order to earn the badge. Juniors, it is 8, and cadets and up, it is 10. So that is the requirements for this badge. So, like I said, we're going to move on to the community aspect. And one of the things that you can do is look at a event that happened in your community's history and create a work of art inspired by it. So I looked at something that happened in Duluth in 2012, which was when we had our first documented tornado. So Duluth is very tornado proof, but what happened in August of 2012 was there was a water spout, so a water tornado was on Lake Superior, and then it did briefly move over into Minnesota Point. So I made a little piece of embroidery to show it. So this is the tornado. It is made out of an old Holy sock. I have a collection of socks with holes in them that I use for cleaning rags. And then I did a little lift bridge action here. The lift bridge is obviously up. So I did a little embroidery piece. You could do a mural, you could do a collage, and that would be a great art project for you to do by yourself, or a great project to do with your troop when you are able to meet again, or you could even do it virtually. Let's see. Another option of things that you can do for your community history is to create a time capsule. And I actually have some working time capsules on my own. So I'm gonna go through them a little bit. This is a letter that my mom wrote to me when I was in kindergarten, and it was placed in a time capsule that I opened in when I graduated from high school. So I got to open that up when I graduated high school, read about what I was like in kindergarten, what my world was like in kindergarten, and you know, read some words from my mom, which was really fun. Another thing that was in my kindergarten time capsule that I kept was, I don't fully remember the premise of this activity, but I think our teacher had us draw pictures of what our classmates looked like on the first day of school. And I was home for Thanksgiving a couple years ago going through this stuff, and I found this one. So this is a picture that my very good friend Renee drew of me on the first day in kindergarten. I still talk to her. We met on the first day, and she is still a very, very close friend of mine. We are looking at almost 20 years of friendship. She was also in my Girl Scout troop. So this is a picture that my friend drew of me on the first day of kindergarten. You can see I have some beads in my hair. I think my family had just come back from a trip to Florida. So that has a lot of very strong sentimental value to me, and it's something that I'm going to hold on to forever. Two other things that I have, in my adult life, I've started writing letters to myself to open in the future. So this is a letter that I wrote to myself. It is to future Betsy, open in 2020. I'm going to wait until November to open this, because I remember that I wrote this in November. It was at the end of when I was studying abroad. So this is a letter that I wrote to myself saying, hey, you're wrapping up a really important chapter of your life. You know, here are some things that you should remember. Here are some things that you should look forward to. So I wrote it in 2015, so I set my open date for 5 years into the future. So we have this one, and then I have another one that I wrote to myself in 2017 when I was wrapping up college, and I actually presented this as a final project, and so it says to future Betsy, open April 2022, and then my teacher wrote, and not a minute sooner. So I have these two on deck to be opened in the very near future, which is very exciting. I'm seeing some comments that the requirements are not posted to the virtual programming site. I will check on that as soon as I hop off the camera here. I'll make sure that that gets taken care of. But I see those comments, and we will make sure that you can find those requirements. So there were two activities that I did for the community section, and then the last two things that I did were learning about the history of Girl Scouting. So one of the requirements was learning about some famous Girl Scout alumni. So lots of councils have lists on their websites of Girl Scouts who were specifically Girl Scouts in their council. There's also a list posted by the Girl Scouts of the United States of America. Some of my favorites were, there's some politicians like Madeleine Albright, Hillary Clinton, but there's also great athletes like Venus and Serena Williams. Something that I really loved was the actress Carrie Fisher, who was in the Star Wars movies. Carrie Fisher was a Girl Scout, and then her mom, Debbie Reynolds, who was also an actress, she starred in the movie Singing in the Rain. She was also a Girl Scout, so, you know, it's really nice to see that it stays, you know, in the family. It's a tradition that we pass down from mother to daughter, which was really special and really meaningful to me. And then the Last requirement that I did for the Girl Scout history was I learned a little bit more about the world centers. So there are different world centers all over the world, because if you remember, being a member of the Girl Scouts, you are also a member of the World Association of Girl Scouts and Girl Guides, or WAGs, and there are different WAGs centers around the world. You might have heard of Pax Lodge in England. There's our Chalet in Switzerland. I know some of my coworkers got to go to our chalet last summer, which was very exciting. There's our cabana in Mexico, but I didn't really know a lot about the one in, there's one in India, and there's also one in Africa. And the really cool thing about the one in Africa is a huge continent. There's like 50 countries in Africa, close to 50 countries in Africa, and the Girl Scout Center in Africa actually it changes location over the years. It doesn't have one set location, which I thought was super duper cool. So it was a really fun opportunity to learn more about the greater world of Girl Scouting, and then also just kind of when each of the world centers opened up. And the first one was opened up in 1932. I left my notes on the World Center over on a different table, but yes, the first World Center was opened up in 1932, so that was very exciting. And then I know another one was kind of, like the ribbon cutting ceremony, the grand opening was facilitated by one of Robert Baden-Powell's daughters, which is very exciting, because if you know anything about the history of the whole scouting movement, is that Sir Robert Baden-Powell founded the Boy Scouts over in England, and then that is how Juliet Gordon Low got inspired to start the Girl Scouting movement, and then she brought that over to America in 1912. So there's your little Girl Scout history lesson. Again, here is the patch that we were focusing on, Past and Promise, the world of me. I had a really fun time working on this. I hope that you are able to find some great pieces of history as you journey through earning this patch. It's a great way to connect with people that you haven't talked to in a long time, and I think that's really important right now. So I just want to thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you are healthy and well, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.